Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is the horoscope for Gemini. If Gemini is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, Gemini. And so tonight we have the Prince of Discs. So that's kind of usually, like, the Prince cards have like a more active, kind of almost aggressive energy, in my estimation anyways. So we have really this energy of things getting probably pretty busy in your physical world, right? In your day-to-day life. This is an energy of really having passion and drive and working hard, but not necessarily having the experience, clarity, reasoning to figure out how to kind of make that all work, right? So let's take a look. We're going to see what these tea leaves have to say. And so immediately, I'm going to just show you, we have two people standing together. We have one here, and now it looks like there are other smaller people within these formations, and we'll look at that as well. But I want to look, we have one here, and you can see the head, and over here we have the body of this one and the head. So we have two people facing each other. And I imagine almost kind of wearing like large coats or, something that's a little bulky. Now, that might be because it is so cold where I live right now. Today it is, and this is in Fahrenheit. I know, we're in America, we use is it the imperial system or whatever? So we're kind of like on our own out here. But yeah, it's like -5 degrees right now. It's pretty cold. So we have these two people who are coming together. I feel like equals. It feels like a really kind of solid friendship, relationship, family dynamic. I feel like this is somebody that you trust. This is somebody that when they say they're going to do something, they do it. You're not going to question, like, is it actually going to happen? Right? And this might be one of the only people in your world that you can count on. But I think this is really important because we have these two formations. They're big. They take up most of the tea leaves here. So I feel like there is really an emphasis on this particular attachment that you have. Okay? And we're going to investigate further into like what's going on there. Okay? Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing that. Also, if you want to hit the like button or leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. I know I hate saying all that, but here we are. It's part of the job, right? So, yes, definitely would love for you to, let me know how you're doing. What's going on? What's going on in your world over there? Okay, let's see. Now, it looks like the impression that I'm really getting here is this feeling of working really hard and we have a person running right here. You can see the head. Here's the body, their leg kind of out, hand is up, kind of in this running posture. Now we have another person who's just standing here, and they have kind of their hand out. It looks like maybe a little dog down here, some kind of animal. You can see the eyes and the mouth, and maybe like a little deer or something, the face of one. But I am also seeing we have this fish right here. You can see the tail right in here. So I almost feel like we have somebody in your life who is constantly asking for your assistance, or at least, it feels constant, right? Maybe an adult child, maybe a teenager. Hey, it could be my 4-year-old, right? My 4-year-old is always asking, Mom, will you buy me this game? Mom, can you get me this thing for my game? Like, dude, it adds up so fast. It just is wild to even think how quickly you could spend like $1,000 playing, iPad games or whatever. But yeah, so I feel like it's almost kind of, and I wonder if this is a younger person, because it feels like they don't have an understanding for how much work it takes to not only make money, but to keep money, to grow money, right? These are 3 very separate things, right? Making the money is one of them. Keeping that money, in the bank, in the mattress, in the, whatever it's invested in. And then also trying to figure out how you're going to make this money work for you. How are you going to grow this money? That's like a whole other can of worms. I don't know. Don't look at me. I'm learning as I go, just like you probably. But I feel like there's it's becoming almost, I feel like it's beginning to almost hurt your feelings, right? It's becoming problematic because it feels like it is careless. Like, you're giving this money that you've worked so hard for, and you've been around this person long enough that they see what you do. They're not oblivious to the fact that you are, working yourself to the bone, and you've been doing so for many years. No, they know it. They know what's going on. But they continue to ask, and they continue to blow the money. And that's the big thing here, is that they're not doing anything useful with it, anything that can really add to their life, aside from maybe having some fun or whatever they're doing. I don't know. But I really feel like for you, this is going to be maybe one of those times in life where, it's like that meme, like it's a dog. It's just kind of sitting there, like it's kind of nervous. And at the top it says something like, I was waiting for an adult to handle the situation, and I looked around and realized I'm the adult. And it's like, oh no, I have to take care of this. Yeah, and it is kind of that feeling, like I have to finally kind of like put some boundaries in place here. This is not gonna fly, right? And so I feel like this is going to be something that feels maybe, I don't know, difficult to do, but once you get going on it, I feel like it's like, okay, now I have created a little bit of space where I can breathe, right? And coming into a place of feeling in control of, well, of course, your finances, right? But also, as we do, and especially if this is your kid, we're always teaching our kids about life, about living, about, just being a person, being part of a family, being a member of our communities. And that never ends, right? It never ends. And I don't care if your kid is 4 years old or 50 years old, right? We're always going to be there guiding in some capacity our children. And they guide us as well, right? Let's not sleep on that fact. They do as well. But I do feel like this is like you really reclaiming your power. And, I don't think that this person in your life is necessarily like predatory. I feel like it's more like a carelessness, right? Like I'm not thinking about how my actions affect other people. And so I do feel like this is going to be the time for you to really kind of, stick to it. And I know, Gemini, you're very much like myself in this way, I think, is that we can be kind of wish-washy about what we decide. And I don't think it's because we're weak. There's not a weakness there. It's just that, like, from one moment to the next, I feel kind of differently about what's going on here, right? And so I do feel, you know, at times you might feel like, well, maybe if I just give them like part of it, or, you know, I'll just do it this one more time, and next time I swear, no more. Nah. We have to have some resolve here, Gemini. And I do. I think that that's what this lesson, this little life lesson might be about. Okay. So we have somebody with a W name. And I almost kind of think this is somebody you might be looking for. Like maybe somebody from the past. You've been interested in kind of catching up with them, or kind of finding, you know, finding them, you know, wherever they are. It even could be that this is like you're doing a genealogy project for your family or something like this, and you're finding long lost family members. But I am seeing we have a person here. You can see the head, the body, and up here it's almost kind of like this W, right? And I feel like this is really representative of you putting it out there in the aether. I'm looking for this person. I want to find them. I want to see what's going on with them. And I think that this is something that is going to be, it's going to be important. Now this looks like it almost says grand, G-R-A, and we're missing the N maybe, with the D, maybe an N there, D, and then I think it's grandma. It doesn't read as grandpa to me so much. Grandma. So maybe it almost feels kind of on the maternal side, the grandmother, mom's mom. So maybe maybe you're hunting people down from that side of the family. We also have a person that looks like they have like a keyhole in them, right here. Okay, so I feel like through this investigation, you are kind of unlocking old parts of the family, of the mythologies, the histories of your ancestors. And I feel like doing this kind of research maybe will help you have like a bigger picture of the family in general, but like the people that you're closer with, especially maybe like great grandparents that passed away when you were young, or grandparents, or whoever. But I think it kind of like gives you more of an idea of who these people were, you know. And I think so often, I don't know about you, but for me, my parents passed away when I was young. I was 11 and 12 years old when my parents passed away. And I did grow up with my family even after that. I was around both families, but mostly my mom's family. And yeah, I left when I was 18. So, and we're estranged. So I have a lot of parts of the stories here. But I never really got to know about, like, where did we really come from? What were our lives like? You know, what were my elders' lives like? What were people like at all? You know, like, what were the personalities? What was going on? What did they care about? You know, and I feel like when we go on this journey where we start to look at these kinds of things, ask these kinds of questions, though it might not seem like such an important detail to your own life, I feel like, you know, it kind of creates a context for maybe the energies that are passed down, the behaviors, the way, you know, the way that we live, the way that we were raised. And if you're older like me, then you probably had people in your life who are older and maybe weren't always that forthcoming about things. Not necessarily because they were hiding things, like, you know, for some malicious reason, but because people just didn't necessarily put their business out there like they do now. The world is, I mean, if you are younger than, I don't know, 40, you know, years old, 35 years old, you might not remember a time when people actually kind of kept their business to themselves. But that's how it used to be. And especially if they had things that went on in their lives that were difficult. It was just not always something that people, you know, felt the need to talk about or felt maybe comfortable talking about, right? Thankfully, hopefully anyways, thankfully, the world is changing. The stigmas have at least become a little less, right? And so I do think that this kind of self-exploration can be so beneficial. And, you know, but we also have to go in protecting ourselves a little bit, because the things that kind of, well, it's almost like lifting up, like if there was a door in the ground in the middle of like a field somewhere, you lift it up and all the vapors start coming up and the arcane smells, you know, just all the magic rising. You got to be careful, you know, because you don't know what's in there. And it might not be stuff that you were expecting. It might not be stuff that you understand or can get behind. I mean, it is. We all have that stuff within our bloodlines where maybe we wish that didn't happen. Maybe we wish that, you know, we could change that, or, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, prepare yourself for these kinds of, you know, sometimes these truths are just, they're difficult and they can become quite emotional. Also, it can be very, I think, it can be very hard to separate yourself from the actions or behaviors or personalities of people we're related to, even if we've never met them, right? It's like a family curse or a shame that we carry. And I don't know what to say about that besides, like, protect yourself, know that it's a possibility going in, right? But I think it's also really important. I think it is. It's important for us to kind of know about some of this stuff, to learn how to accept that, you know, that we might come from some difficult beginnings, right? And so I do. I love when I hear about people doing genealogy. I really do. I love hearing the stories about what they find about themselves and their families. Okay, so we have a bunch of birds here. A bunch of birds. So messages coming in. And we have TU. TU, if that means anything to you. We have a person praying. And I think that's the big thing here, is I think you are looking for some kind of peace in your heart and maybe clarity as well. And I do. I think that leaning on those spiritual practices, religious practices, this can be something that is quite stabilizing. I think it's important to have something to hold on to believe in, right? What is that? I have to think of it. It's the it's the beginning of a fall for anything. It's the beginning of a Shaheem the Rugged Child song, and it has Papa Wu on it. If you know anything about rap, Papa Wu, shout out to Papa Wu. And he is quoting Malcolm X, and it's something that, here we go. This is what the quote is. He says, a man, and that's just a placeholder for a person, right? A person who stands for nothing will fall for anything, right? And I think that's, you know, it's not exactly what we're talking about here, but yes, it kind of is, right? And it's not just about standing, it's about finding something to believe in. I don't care what it is. I don't care if people understand it outside of your own belief. I don't care if it's something that you've created yourself or if this is something that has been established for millennia, right? It doesn't matter, okay? But finding that thing within yourself, in the world, in the universe, and helping, you know, it does. It helps you move through the ordeals that we all have. We all have ordeals. And so leaning into those spiritual practices, those beliefs, those religious practices, you know, whatever it is. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to do our 3 lucky numbers. 76. 76. 86. All right, 76, 86. Can we get a 96? Probably not. Very rarely do I. 38. We're going to go 38. There we go. So close. All right, we're going to finish up with our Wild Offering Oracle cards. And I'm just going to flip through. I'm going to stop where it feels right. And it says, forgiveness. Healing comes from acceptance. Help me, dear Lord, to fully accept what is, knowing this alone will open me to the new. Knowing this alone will help me open to the new. All right. Forgiveness. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Can you imagine a life where you're not mad at anybody? Where there's like no weirdness or like anger or just resentment or any of that. Can you imagine? I mean, at least in your personal life, right? It's hard. It's hard to get there, but it's possible. I think it is, you know. And I say this not as somebody who has lived an easy life. You know, I have been victimized. I am a survivor of different kinds of abuse. I mean, that's really terror basically. You know, but finding a way, I like the forgiveness. It's hard to say that. It's hard to say it. I have forgiven. I've accepted what has come to pass, right? I do not think it was okay, but I'm also not going to let it be that chain around my neck forever, you know. And so coming to that place where you can kind of let the discontent, that icky anger, sadness, fear, resentment, all of that stuff dissolve, disperse, scatter to the winds. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. Even if you get to that point, it doesn't mean it's always going to feel that way, right? But when you can, when you can figure it out. It's like unlocking a door to a whole new world. I don't know. I think because I've been in recovery, I feel very certain that when we can learn to not only atone for our own trespasses and, wrongdoings and so on, but to begin to allow others the same grace. Now, I can give you grace. It doesn't mean you're going to be in my life, right? It doesn't mean I want anything to do with you. But I'm also not going to allow you to live in my mind anymore, right? And so, yeah, forgiveness. Complicated, but most worthy work, right? All right, so Gemini. Again, I'm going to tell you I love you. I hope that you know I do. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you haven't subscribed, think about doing that. Hitting that like button, leaving a comment. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you all are doing well. If you're in the northern hemisphere, I hope you're staying warm. If you're in the southern hemisphere, oh my gosh, drink lots of water, stay cold, cool. And we'll talk in a few days. All right. Good night. Good night. Good night.